What if decades of deep-seated trauma and persistent depression could be rewired, not just managed, through cutting-edge science and methodical self-experimentation? Tim Ferriss, a renowned author, podcaster, and self-experimenter, delves into his lifelong journey of overcoming repeated depressive episodes and childhood sexual abuse. With brutal honesty and groundbreaking insights, he unfolds how a combination of innovative therapies and frameworks not only transformed his own mental health, but also holds promise for millions grappling with similar struggles. How far can human resilience extend when paired with an evolving scientific toolkit? Tim Ferriss courageously begins with a deeply personal revelation about the sexual abuse he endured between ages 2 and 4. Despite the overwhelming nature of this trauma, his extraordinary photographic memory retained vivid details that later allowed him to recontextualize those experiences in adulthood, fundamentally shaping his understanding of his mental health challenges. Ferriss explains that early trauma can be buried deeply through compartmentalization, a mechanism that, while protective and enabling survival through intense hardship, may also later hinder emotional processing and connection in everyday life. He emphasizes that while psychiatry remains somewhat primitive, there are emerging therapies that can help people chip away at their pain. This evolution in treatment inspired Tim to confront his pain head-on during a period of nervous breakdown, temporarily stepping away from all professional commitments to focus on healing. In doing so, he found new hope, not in erasing the past, but in transforming his pain into a source of insight and empathy, echoing the advice from a psychotherapist: take the pain and make it part of your medicine. Could embracing trauma rather than avoiding it be the crucial first domino in recovery? Ferriss explores 4 science-backed interventions that have made the most profound impact on his and others' mental health journeys. The first, and perhaps most revolutionary, is accelerated transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. Unlike traditional TMS protocols stretching over months, accelerated TMS compresses treatments into 5 consecutive days with multiple daily sessions, stimulating the brain via magnetic pulses. This method has yielded astonishing results, including prolonged relief from anxiety and depression, sometimes surpassing the benefits of psychedelic therapies. The safety profile and non-invasive nature make it a compelling option for those battling treatment-resistant conditions. Imagine flipping a biochemical switch to silence anxiety where medications have failed. Would you consider trying it? Building on the nexus of diet and mental wellness, Ferriss spotlights metabolic psychiatry, particularly ketogenic diets. Drawing on research from experts like Chris Palmer at Harvard, he describes how ketones serve as an alternative, cleaner fuel for the brain, sometimes enabling patients to reduce or even eliminate long-term medication regimens for disorders like schizophrenia. This metabolic avenue also intrigues Ferriss personally, given his family's predisposition to Alzheimer's disease. Could what we eat literally reshape the mental landscape and stave off neurodegeneration? His third pillar ventures into the realm of psychedelic-assisted therapies, which are redefining possibilities for healing conditions like PTSD after decades of failed conventional treatments. Ferriss underscores the mechanistic shift psychedelics bring, potentially reopening critical periods in brain development, allowing patients to relearn emotional responses and trauma processing. While he tempers expectations, acknowledging that outcomes vary and mechanisms remain partially understood, the degree of clinical remission observed in some patients is nothing short of paradigm shifting. What if these substances could unlock pathways to mental freedom previously blocked by chronic trauma? Ferriss also discusses an emerging field known as bioelectric medicine, focusing on therapies like vagus nerve stimulation, VNS. The vagus nerve, a complex bundle of over 100,000 fibers connecting brain and body, orchestrates key regulatory functions, including heart rate, digestion, and inflammation. While much of the popular conversation around VNS is muddled with pseudoscience, Ferriss highlights credible research and real-world applications involving devices that electrically stimulate parts of the nerve, leading to remarkable improvements in autoimmune disorders, heart rate variability, and chronic fatigue. One friend tripled his heart rate variability, a metric linked to resilience and relaxation in just weeks of using a prescribed VNS device. Could these electrical pulses be the next frontier in rewiring the mind-body connection? Ferriss broadens the discussion by linking mental health progress to his foundational concept of meta-learning, learning how to learn more effectively. He introduces his DSSS framework: deconstruction, selection, sequencing, and stakes. This practical method breaks down any complex skill or subject into parts, identifies the critical 20% that yield 80% of the results, orders learning in the most logical sequence, and sets tangible incentives to ensure follow-through. Applied broadly, this system accelerates mastery and resilience in any domain, including mental health strategies. Underpinning all this is the recognition that human beings are inherently social creatures, and the most fundamental remedy for many psychological ailments remains uncompromised face-to-face human connection. Ferriss stresses that modern isolation, which runs counter to our evolutionary wiring, exacerbates conditions like anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Shifting towards existential themes, Ferriss tackles human craving for certainty and meaning. He posits that whether one subscribes to organized religion or atheism, belief systems are essential for mental health and self-transcendence. Modern religions like CrossFit or veganism offer structure, community, ritual, and purpose, fulfilling roles historically occupied by spiritual faith. Ferriss admits to the complexities of carrying a moral obligation to help others through his public persona, a savior complex he watches carefully to avoid burnout. But through sharing his story, including deep dives into trauma and even suicidality, he hopes to leverage his lived experience as a guiding light for others. Beyond the clinical and scientific, Ferriss advocates for prioritizing relationships, championing energy over abstract passion, and designing life with deliberate pauses, such as annual mini-retirements, where one disconnects completely to reflect, recharge, and recalibrate. He reflects on the paradoxes of modern dating and human connection in a hyper-digital age, cautioning against the seductive traps of choice overload and ephemeral dopamine hits. Ultimately, Ferriss emphasizes the power of incremental progress, the importance of embracing complexity, yet distilling simplicity, and the necessity of continually learning from failure and trauma alike.